And they paid off. And last but not least, Tua and the Dolphins are hotter than fish grease right now. Okay, they came back from down 21 in the fourth quarter. Tua was throwing it all over the place. All the doubt, all the haters this offseason, doesn't matter. Tua went out there and proved that he can lead this team to the promised land. Even after throwing 2 early interceptions, his coach didn't doubt him. He said, Tua, I need you to go out there and sink or swim. And Tua swam with the best of them.
That it did indeed. Now I need to have a talk with the staff because somehow we decided we're going to focus on Miami after those 3 instead of Garrett Wilson being the best player in NFL history, but we'll get to that another time. We touched on this a little earlier. I mean, the Bills have looked so good that it is almost as though no one can play with them.
Right.
This is an interesting measuring stick game, isn't it, for the Dolphins? There are no moral victories, but if that's a game late in the fourth quarter, which no one else has given Buffalo so far this year, maybe even that says something about the Dolphins.
Absolutely. I think that they've already made a couple statements. I know the Patriots aren't the Patriots of old, but it's still Bill Belichick. Yeah. And they went into the Ravens and knocked them off and came back against another great coach and a really talented team. So they are making statement after statement, but this will be a real statement. I think it's a winnable game. They're not as far away as I think we all would assume.
Are the Dolphins for real, Jeff Saturday? They are a legit contender in the AFC.
They are legit contenders. I will say 2 things that you want to see. And McDaniel, their head coach and offensive coordinator, they need to develop a more physical run game to couple with those receivers. Yep. But again, those guys going down the field, get the ball in their hand, yards after catch are absolutely incredible.
Neek's face was just priceless.
Have you ever found a problem in your life that you did not think running the ball was the solution?
I mean, very few. Very few in life.
That's an offensive lineman mindset.
Bro. It's a simple life. You know what I mean? You don't have to overcomplicate things.
The pandemic would have ended sooner if we had just run the ball.
I mean, come on. I mean, simplicity works. Y'all trying to overcomplicate life, right? If you're better at this, you're going to be better at everything. So I'm trying to help you.
What you're telling us is that a team that has Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill on it needs to run the ball.
Yeah. Those guys are
decoration. I'll tell you, that's absolutely facts.
Here's what I'll say.
Thank you.
They use the wide receivers as an extension of the running game. Their screen game, all those quick passes, the bubbles that you see Tua throwing, those are part of that running game. And when you have Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, you always have a chance.
I'd like to make another statement about Tua Tagovailoa. Because, Dan, the theme of today's show has been organizational success in developing players, right? Josh Allen, the Bills brought him along exactly right. Jalen Hurts, it looks really good for the way the Eagles have brought him along. The absolute opposite of that is what Tua has experienced so far in Miami. He had an owner who wanted to lose games. He had a coach who clearly didn't believe in him. These are on the record. This is not made up. So the point is, now he's got an offensive-minded coach who does believe in him. They put all the pieces in place you could ever imagine around him, and maybe, just maybe, we will see the result.
No doubt. And look, it's a mixed bag in terms of Dolphins' confidence. They did pick him 5th, and they have put pieces around him. That, as you said, this is not a team that's been like a 3-win team the last couple of years. They've been kind of right on the edge of the playoffs anyway. So you add Tyreek Hill, you bring in a coach that clicks better with Tua and builds up his confidence a little bit. Look, again, not to speak ill of the previous coaching staff, but there was a disconnect there. There's no question about it between the quarterback and they flirted openly with Deshaun Watson. Like, we know all about that. So he's comfortable. He's confident. It is. It's nice to see. It's fun.
It's one thing to have those weapons. It's another thing to be able to utilize them. And I think Tua showed this week that he can do that. And I got a stat for you. Yeah. Schefter said this last night on Monday Night Countdown. Go. Justin Herbert's record as a starter, 16-18. Tua's record as a starter, 15-8. He's winning games. Even despite all of the organizational fluctuations that have happened, he's winning football games, and Tua is proving every doubter out there wrong. I don't want to hear any Tua hate for the next 7 days.
Don't Jimmy G him, dog. Don't Jimmy G him.
I'm just saying, man.
They'll rain on the parade.
He's winning games.
Well, look, there's a lot of weird stuff going on in the AFC. We came in saying, well, the AFC, all these teams, it all looks, well, Denver looks terrible. The Raiders so far can't get out of their own way. The Bengals are winless. There's a lot of, the Indianapolis, no offense, looks just horrendous. My point is, like, there's a little bit of up is down in the AFC, and there is room for a team like the Dolphins to sneak in there and and stun the world, isn't there?
I absolutely think so. And we talk about how the modern NFL is very high scoring. They can score with anybody.
Yeah.
And they don't have, as good as McDaniel is at scheming, they almost don't have to scheme sometimes. When you have certain guys that are just quicker, faster, and better than people, sometimes the scheme is get it to 10. Yeah. Keep throwing it to 17, and something good's going to happen. As a DB, I can tell you, there's only so many times you can stay close to them, only so many times you can tackle somebody like that before they break one.
How is that any different than the Bills? Throw it to Stephon 12 for $148, 3 touchdowns. Like don't overcomplicate it. I mean, keep it simple.
You're right. As long as you don't waste plays handing the ball off to people when you got aliens on the edge.
Exactly. Yeah, let's hand it in the middle.
And that's funny. It's a flip side. We talk about Mahomes talking about how without Tyreek, he's going to go through progressions and go through the reads and whatever, because he used to just air it out to Tyreek. And then the flip side is Tua's down there going, wee!
He's just airing it out to Tyreek.
Respect it. Grimes got himself going.
There you go.
I'm going to say that was a moment you're going to live to regret. Graziano just getting it done, and so let's put the scoreboard up here, and I believe that it is Graziano versus Hembo. Let's take a look here as we're blocking it. 23-16. Graziano is up a touchdown as we work our way over this. So the Bills clearly look to us like they are the best team in the National Football League so far. Let's see if Dominic Foxworth agrees. Last week, he gave us his power rankings, his fundamental list of the top 5 teams in the sport. Week 2 power rankings, Dominic, take it away.
Let's get right to it. Dolphins, number 5.
Wow.
They have 2 really impressive wins. One was a defensive win. The next one was a crazy offensive win. Finding ways to win, and they're pretty much unguardable, it seems like, on defense. The Ravens made a lot of mistakes to make it easy on them, but it's hard. They're 2-0 right now. It's hard not to have them on this list with a quarterback that's playing really well and really smart. Number 4, I got the Buccaneers. That defense, so this is not the same as the previous team. They do not have offensive wins and defensive wins. They got defensive wins and then some more defensive wins. They have the best defense in football right now, and they have the greatest quarterback of all time to be able to make just enough plays to get the job done. So I like this team at number 4, but they are not the best in the NFC. That's the Eagles at number 3. What we saw last night against a Vikings team that I thought was pretty good, and I still think they're really talented and they're a pretty good bunch, but the Eagles dominated them. They couldn't get any pressure on Hurts, and he sat in the pocket and ripped them apart. The secondary seemed like they could cover the best receiver in football in Justin Jefferson, and they couldn't run the ball on them either. They were a dominant team last night. And number 2, got to put the Chiefs at number 2. It hurt my heart a little bit to put them at number 2. They've had a couple really impressive wins, or well, I wouldn't say really impressive wins. They have a couple impressive wins. They beat the Chargers, who a lot of people think are a real Super Bowl contender. They have Patrick Mahomes, which means that they're always going to be up in the top 3 somewhere. Their defense is still coming along, made big plays to close that game out. But, I mean, this is easy. You know who it is. It's the Bills. They dominated 2 very good football teams, and I know the Titans aren't as good as they were last year. They lost some parts, but the way that the Bills played, they treated them like they were not good teams. And so you can only play who's on the schedule, and you better blow them out if they aren't good. So, yeah, this list is perfect. So we can go ahead and move to the next segment, Greeny. There's nothing else to talk about.
It's not as controversial as last week when you had the Vikings up there so close to the top. But do you see something you're missing?
Yeah, 5. Okay, so the Dolphins win. They're down 21 in the 4th quarter, y'all.
Yes.
You know what the record is for the teams like that? 0-711.
Not anymore.
Okay, the Ravens gave that game away. Absolute god-awful on the backside of defense. So I like the Dolphins. I'm not saying that they should be at number 5. The number 5 team should be the Green Bay Packers. And you can hate on this, but this is the reality.
Okay.
That team's defense is top-notch. Their quarterback, again, like you put the Bucs, is going to be one of the top in the league, and those receivers will catch fire, and they got smart, started using their running backs, which I know you hate, in both facets of the game. That's the number 5 team in the NFL.
They may get there. That might be a projection.
Yeah. No.
Interesting pick.
Right
this minute,
right now, they're better than the Dolphins. Right now.
Robert, who do you think is missing on this
Well, you know, I'm not a hater of any teams, but I know why you're picking the Packers. I thought they did a good job of moving to the running game. But the 5th team should be the Chargers. Okay, you talk about the Packers. They just lost to a team that we saw get dominated by the Philadelphia Eagles. But the Chargers played the Chiefs extremely close, who I think Dominique has as the number 2 right there. Yeah. So the Chargers should have won that game against the Chiefs. They gave that away. So I look at them and I say, hey, they should be in the 5 spot. And I like Tua and the Dolphins, but right now, that's premature.
I'm with you. The interesting thing, and our executive producer, Pete, brings this up to me all the time. The thing about the Chargers, we're all so impressed with them. They always lose. Like, when are they going to win one of these games? I love Justin Herbert. I love him. Yeah, and I think they have, it seems they have almost all of the pieces. Almost. And yet every game you think of that impresses you about them is a loss. Look how close they were to doing this. Right. Look how close they were to doing that. That's true. At what point do they actually do it?
So what you're saying is we just wasted time because the list was perfect when I put it on.
No. Anytime you play the number 2 seed that close, you should be in the top 5.
Undefeated 2-0, put them at 5.
You took the easy road.
Yeah. Let me get to a team that has frequently over the course of time been on this list and certainly doesn't belong on it now, and that's Pittsburgh. The Steelers losing to the Patriots 17-14 this weekend. Mitchell Trubisky in the offense struggling, and fresh off a preseason quarterback battle with Kenny Pickett, Mike Tomlin isn't worrying yet about his quarterback situation.
I'm going to exercise appropriate patience and continue to teach and ask the guys to continue to learn in an effort to continue to push this train down the track and get better. I think that if anyone is sitting here on Monday in week 2 of this thing feeling happy, they're probably wrong or misinformed.
Okay, I love listening to him talk. I can listen to Mike Tomlin talk all the time. But when you hear a coach through 2 weeks of the season speaking of an experienced veteran quarterback saying we need to exercise appropriate patience, what does that mean, Jeff?
Yeah, caution. Right, like if we're gonna be patient, why aren't we patient with a rookie? Because if you have the vet in there, you have him in there for a reason. That you can make challenging throws at appropriate times during a football game. And right now, if you have him in handcuffs, not allowed to go do what he needs to go do, you're hurting your football team. So I understand why they went with Trubisky. I thought that was the best play, but not if you're telling me we can't challenge the Patriots down the field because they're really good at stopping big plays. I mean, there's a lot of good, but you still got to go attack them to open up that offense. I didn't love that. Again, if we're gonna be patient, let's be patient with a rookie.
I mean, I agree with you. However, I don't know if the patience is all because of Mitch.